The Tysons Gift Podcast was created to promote the normalization of metaphysical, spiritual topics, particularly the reality that we are all eternal souls having an earthly experience. Obviously, this will cover a wide berth of topics such as animal communication, mediumship, the paranormal, past life regression, energy healing, you name it. Former police officer and author Brandon Wainwright hopes to entertain his audience with fascinating discussions with experts as well as everyday folks who have metaphysical experiences and knowledge to share. The intention is to help make esoteric topics fun, relatable, and credible to audiences of all backgrounds. We hope you enjoy it. Now, your host of the Tysons Gift Podcast, Brandon Wainwright.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Tysons Gift Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Wainwright, with my sidekick, Pepper, here. She always starts off the show. As if those of you that have actually read Tysons Gift know exactly why she has to be included in each episode. So that's all of that. I'm going to go ahead and let her go now because she prefers to be off running around doing her own thing. So tonight I have a very exciting guest for you, Ericka Boussarhane. She is an international psychic medium, and she has a very extensive background in all kinds of different things. She does ghost hunting. She's located in Pensacola. She helps police solve crimes with their psychic ability, just to name a couple different things. When I bring her on, I'll have her go into more detail on that, but I think you're really going to enjoy her. As for you folks, I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving, and I want to share, like I always do, if something peculiar or gross or toilety comes up, I like to share those stories with my audience at the beginning of each episode. So I want to share a little story about my daughter. So last week, we were putting up Christmas lights on Thanksgiving Day, actually. Wanted to have them up so after we ate, could put the lights up on. We're big Christmas people. And my daughter, who is 13, is in full teenage mode, as you might expect. And she talks a lot of smack, and I talk a lot of smack to her. We give each other a lot of grief. And so she was doing a lot of complaining, being kind of a butthead as I was having her help me put the Christmas lights up on the outside of the house. And, well, let's just say that I had a little bit of nature come my way, and I had to pass some gas. And fortunately for me, Madison just happened to be standing right next to me waiting for my next request. And so I say, "Hey, Madison, come here. I need you. Had her come over to me, stood on the side of me, and I grabbed her by her arm so she couldn't run away and let her rip. And yep, it was a great thing. I almost fell off the ladder. I was laughing so hard, and she just was kind of in shock. And she said, "Dad, why would you do something like that?" And I said, "Are you kidding me? After the way you've been acting towards me since we've been working out here, you actually have to ask that question." Totally oblivious to her teenage nature. But that's okay. I love her anyway. She's a great kid. And we've always had that type of relationship where she does the same things to me. We brutalize each other with regularity. So anyway, on that beautiful note, I want to go ahead and bring my amazing guest on now, Ericka. Are you there? There she is.
I'm here. Hello.
Hi, Ericka.
Hey.
Thanks so much for being on our show.
My pleasure.
I see you. You came with a kind of a unique hairstyle going here tonight, huh?
Yeah, I was like doing my hair or not doing it, and then I just was inspired to be Peggy Bundy tonight. So I went a little extra tease and a little extra 80s puff and the bangs, and here I am.
Well, I think you succeeded. So you being psychic, it doesn't surprise me at all that you decided on that hairstyle, because I don't know if I had told you this. I'm assuming I haven't, because it doesn't come up much anymore. But back in the late 90s, I worked on Married with Children. I worked on the last 24 episodes.
I do remember you telling me that,
I
but
did tell you that?
it
Okay.
did not come to mind tonight.
It's in your
But
subconscious somewhere.
the voices tell me to do things, so I just follow some
Well,
of the things.
well, it's awesome. It looks great. And I'm it's an ode to Katie Seagal and Peg Mundy. So I much appreciate that. So why don't we go ahead and dive on in? So I kind of gave you a brief introduction there, but I should say too that Ericka. So when we moved out from California, not even a year now, it was the end of December of 2021. When I decided to start my healing practice, Tysons Gift Healing Arts, one of the first things I did was look for psychic fairs, just places I could go and maybe do some places on the weekends to actually meet people and practice my art. And so actually the only one that's even near me is Ericka's, which is in Pensacola, and it's in July, right? Wasn't it in July?
Yeah, we did the first one in January, and then we did another one in July. And
it's annual, isn't it?
Yeah, we're going to make it annually because it was very successful. We were very pleased with the response.
What was the name of it again?
Basically, it was the New Horizons or Pensacola Psychic Fair. I think we advertised it as Pensacola Psychic Fair.
It was awesome. I have to say it was my first one, and I had a lot of fun. It's in a great venue. It was in this historic part of Pensacola, and you could just feel the energy there, and you could smell the history. I really enjoyed. The people were really great, and I was so busy I didn't know what to do with myself that day. So it was great. But Ericka has been really good to me, so I just want to point that out. I called her up and signed up, and she's got her hands in so many different things. She's kind of a big shot actually, but she's treated me really well, kind of mentored me, and even gotten me on some radio shows that I never would have been able to get on if she hadn't given me the information at the right time. So she's been kind of a godsend for me, and I've met a lot of other people through her, like-minded people out in the Pensacola area. So I thank you very much for your guidance and tutelage and just being such a good person and so willing to help people. It's not just me either. She's one of those people. I've observed her. She's constantly looking for ways to help people, which makes the fact that you are a medium, you have that ability, but you also have that sensibility to want to help. And so, I think that's why you're so awesome. So why don't you tell us how you got, I don't know that much about your history, so this is going to be informative for me as well as the audience. How did you get your start into the psychic and mediumship field?
Well, I always like to say that when I went to school, I started out in psychology because as I guess a little kid, I told my mom I wanted to be a psychologist. And so as I went into that field and I started working in our local mental health facilities, crisis stabilization unit, Lakeview Center, Alta Care, Rivendell, I became disillusioned with the help that I was supposed to give clients. And so I ended up opening up a childcare facility. And when I opened up that childcare facility, I bought a house, and that house actually ended up being very haunted, and it reignited the abilities that I had in college and in birth and childhood that I kind of, tried to forget, I guess, but in college for sure. But it reignited that. And so I started to study and try to understand why I was going crazy at that time, because I did honestly probably, most of your listeners are going to think when you start shifting, when these abilities happen, you do question your sanity. So moving in that house, having all these paranormal activity things happen to myself, to guests, to my children, it's that whole exorcist versus psychic versus psychosis versus schizophrenia. Why is this happening to me? And so the journey of me trying to figure that out, not trying to admit that this runs very deeply in the family, but that journey started when I came out of the psychic closet in about 2004.
Oh, wow. So how old were you at that point, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't want to say.
Okay, well, let's just you had children. I shouldn't I shouldn't have phrased the question like that. You were into adulthood.
I was young. Yeah.
But you were established adult person with homeowner.
I was
married, the whole
Yeah.
thing. So you as a you say your family lineage has a lot of this ability in it. So were you keenly aware of that as a child, or was this something that kind of you ended up looking into it?
Yeah, I mean, I always have to say this, that my mom and, grandmother and aunts and probably uncles too, a lot of them are very psychic or empathic. Growing up in my mom's household, she was kind of like a black hippie. And so, it wasn't uncommon to, I hate to say, but to pop out the Ouija board and talk to whoever. And she was good at it, And I was always afraid of things like that, afraid of the Exorcist movie. So when I was in college and I started watching Unsolved Mysteries and started seeing cold case files and, the dead girls that were on television talking to me, I snapped out of that shit right quick, because that's when it first started that I really remember is when I was in college. And I kind of like suppressed it, asked it to go away, prayed it away, and it did. But then when I moved in that house, it came back with a vengeance.
Wow. So did you, when you were in college, did you suppress it out of fear, or was it more out of like you didn't want to be seen as a crazy person?
Well, I think what scared me is I found the actual episode. There was an episode of a girl that was missing, two girls. There was a black girl and a white girl, and they were on the same episode. And I could see the black girl in front of my television talking to me, okay, telling me where her body was. I could also see the white girl telling me and showing me these bricks, these stones, and all this stuff, telling me she was in this particular location. And I remember drawing it, writing all the stuff down, sending it to Unsolved Mysteries or calling them. And I got just freaked out with the details and the aftermath of that. And so that's when I put it all away. Just did not want to have anything to do with being like my mom, very psychic. My mom is very good at knowing when people die. Like she is that girl, and I never wanted to be that girl. So opening these abilities, learning later on, once I moved in this haunted house and I was tormented by these dead women in Pensacola from the cold case website and the billboards. You can drive around town, and of course, I'm sure you've seen missing people billboards. Well, I would drive around town and see missing people billboards, but then I would hear missing people talk to me. And at that time, I was freaked out because I had a daycare center, and no daycare center owner wants to be known as the crazy lady. And so there was that feeling of, I know I'm not crazy because this runs in my family, but I don't want it, and what am I to do with it? And so that was the transition, I guess, a big struggle that we all go through. And eventually I had to come to terms with, if God gave this to me, what am I supposed to do with it, use it, and be the best, and be a rock star with it. And that's what I chose to do.
So that's certainly what you've done. But I'm sure when I can just, empathizing with the situation, you're young and you're just getting started, and you've got an idea of where you want things to go. And suddenly you're thrown this major curveball by the universe. I can imagine that would be a difficult thing to accept.
Yeah. And it was, with your law enforcement background, you understand too, that when people like me come to law enforcement and say, hey, this is happening to me, I don't know why it is, can I help you? That's a scary thing to go to the police department.
Sure.
And I did it. I was like, hey, test me. I don't care. I'm supposed to be here. So do what you got to do. Yeah.
Because cops are, they're naturally skeptical. Yeah. Especially when it's something unusual like that. But I actually never personally worked in any situations like that. But I did work closely with a guy that had retired from San Francisco police, and he had been a homicide inspector sergeant for 15 years. and he had a number of those types of experiences where psychics would come to him, and so but I know I know what it, when somebody comes up with a story, heck, somebody comes up with some story that just like some conventional story that happens. I don't. It's probably difficult to come and talk to the cops even in those situations, let alone when you're coming and say, I see dead people. I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. So, well, I'm glad that you did come out of the closet and embrace it fully, because the world is a better place because you did. So what, I know you're Claire everything, right? So
Yes.
so do you want to explain? I mean, I know what it means, but for the audience, do you want to explain your Claire everything?
So I'm McDonald's supersized. Okay. So, so I'm psychic supersized. So most psychics and mediums, empaths, we have these things that we kind of call the clairs, and they kind of connect to your senses, your taste, your smell, your hearing, your touch, your knowing. And so when I do the checklist of all the clairs, I literally hear dead people talk to me on this side. I smell, meaning we all sometimes smell tobacco, roses, a certain scent of our loved ones. Well, I smell that. I taste. I make the funny joke, I taste dead people. It's not really that, but it could be salt water. It could be dirt. It could be a metallic taste. It could be like a sugary thing if they're diabetic, that taste of sugar. And I am clairvoyant. And a lot of times people ask, well, how does psychics see? Because I want to know if I'm psychic or if I'm having a vision. A psychic will see basically like this. See this? No, you don't. And then sometimes we'll say, you'll see it like this, like a movie, and then it'll go away. But a lot of times it's flash. You see the picture, it goes away. And anxiety, a lot of us that might have anxiety and we keep overthinking and seeing, anxiety is continual. Psychic is right, gone. And you learn to control the clairvoyance by asking to blow it up, to see it, to come in, to have, I think the most successful psychics and mediums learn to talk to your spirit guides, learn to ask relevant questions. They're going to give you stuff, but they can blow it up. They can show it to you in a different way. They can give you analogies. They can change the symbolism. But that's kind of the thing. So when he talks about me being all the clairs, I'm clairsentient. That means I feel the knowing that, is not just the common sense or book sense. There's a blue sense law enforcement has, et cetera. It's that psychic, clairsentient, empathic, it's kind of that as well. So I have all of those.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I'm sure it's been sometimes felt like a burden, but as you know, I'm trying to develop my clairs, and I have the clairsentience and some of the claircognizance, but it's not on the same level that you're on. And to your point about like with the clairvoyance, a lot of people, well, you have different pictures in mind of what that might be like. And I know for you, sometimes it's like watching a movie, right? I mean, it's that clear.
Yes. So I always tell people, I don't see dead people like in the air, like how we see people, because that would scare me. So what they do is they show it to me in my mind's eye, which is kind of like, I can almost close my eyes, but not close my eyes, but I can see, I don't know, maybe I'm an alien or a lizard or something. Because it's almost like I don't close my eyes, but I can see stuff. Like how we imagine a banana in our head or a strawberry or a car that we want. There's that way that you can see it in your head without closing your eyes and keeping your eyes open. And that's what I do. But a lot of times if I'm really, really wanting to focus, I can close my eyes and see like a movie theater screen, which is called the mind's eye or the third eye area. And then that is how we see. It's through that area that we actually see. It is the window to our soul or to our spiritual gifts.
Yeah. So I can't do any of that with my eyes open, but if I focus really hard and I close my eyes, I can channel images. But they're always like, they're quick, like you said, flashes, Usually, not always. I've been like when I've been doing distant healing sessions, I've gotten images of like family members of the person where it just stays there on screen for a while, but it's always really blurry. Like it's like an image out of focus. I can make it out. Like, is it a person? Is it a girl, a boy? What color hair? That kind of thing. But it's not. I've never had like a crystal clear image come out. And I've been told that when clairvoyance isn't one of your natural strengths, like it's something you have to develop, or maybe you're clairsentient. Like in my case, I'm clairsentient. That's my strength. So that's not uncommon for people with that, where it's not their main clair, that it's often blurry like that.
Yeah. And what I've learned is that with clairvoyance, to see, and a lot of people want to see. I want to see.
Yeah.
And so there are many things that you can do to see. You can do candle meditation, where you look at the flame of a candle, and you close your eyes, and you can identify where your third eye is. You'll see the red flame when you close your eyes. It's one thing. Exercises that use a lot of your imagination. Like I'll tell people, close your eyes and imagine different things. Like you can imagine a soccer ball, right? They're usually white and black. But can you imagine a soccer ball that's red and black, or blue and black, or yellow and black, or how about the rainbow color, And so the more that you can play with how you see in your head, the easier it is to see in your head. Now, one other thing with symbolism is, because I'll tell you this funny thing. I like Adam Levine a lot.
Okay.
Adam Levine, I like you a lot. Okay, so I'll be talking to somebody, like doing a reading, and all of a sudden I'll say, oh, wow, I see Adam Levine. He's hot. Oh, your guy must have tattoos and black hair, right? Oh, yeah, he does. Oh, okay, he's hot. So they'll use analogies and symbolisms and things that you understand to show you your clairvoyance.
Yeah, they speak to you through image and language that it's going to make sense to you.
Yes.
That's how they tap. Yeah. That's so interesting. So, as far as we talking about this signs, if you're a layman and you don't have experience with this sort of thing, and what would you tell somebody that's like maybe curious about this and open to it, and things that they could look for to maybe identify some of their own mediumship or psychic ability?
Well, one of the things that I always tell people is you don't try anything, you do it. Okay. And it's never, I can't, you can. And so your words are very powerful. Your antenna is very powerful, but your people upstairs, your angelic entourage, your spiritual posse, they see before, beyond, over the top, around, everything. And so if you simply pray or ask, meditation is to receive the information. So you go into it saying, hey, yeah, I can do this. I'm confident that y'all got me. Y'all going to take care of things. It's not about me. I'm going to set ego aside, set my baggage aside, go into meditation and say, okay, guys, maybe I turned this off when I was 8 or 6 or 7. We all have our own story. But I want to be able to co-create my future. I want to be able to use all these gifts that I was given at birth, because we all have them, just different variations of it. And I want to use them all to better live my life spiritually and to help people. And when you do that, you will find that you'll start seeing signs. And signs can be the hearing when you first wake up, the seeing when you first wake up. Signs can be those crazy numbers everybody calls angel numbers, and the 11s, the 22s. And sometimes people get all like into it, like, oh my God, I got to see what it means. Sometimes it's not about seeing what it means. It just means, hey, I'm giving you a sign to know you're on the right path. And so sometimes we think, okay, I'm just making this up, or I'm just seeing a sign in everything. No, you're not seeing a sign in everything. You will be aligned to those people to help you in your journey. As a friend of mine always says, and this is a quote from someone else, but we're all here to walk each other home. And so in saying that, our meeting was not by chance. Your meetings with other people, when you set that intention and you want certain things, your spirit team aligns you. So if I could say anything to anyone, figure out what you want to do with your intuition and just move forward. Read, meditate, get around like-minded people, put your worry and fear and ego out the door and just be present. And then, they'll align you with the right people and they'll teach you what you need to know.
Yeah. And I have to say that I've found everything that you said to be true. Particularly, like you set an intention, but get your ego out of the way. And I think that the difficult thing, especially for men, I think it's harder for, you look at the breakdown of people in this field and there's a lot more women than there are men. So you can kind of see where that's true, but getting out of your own way, getting out of the way of the normal social constructs that we're conditioned with, that were expectations that we have. I'm gonna if you're a man, you're gonna behave a certain way. You're gonna carry yourself a certain way. You're not gonna be open. You're not gonna have an open heart, which this type of work requires you to have an open heart. It just does. It requires you, because like Ericka was saying, it's your intention. It's you're trying to make a difference. It's you trying to be in line with that light. And it's, if you're doing it because you're trying to achieve a certain thing, a certain status or whatever, that's going to block out the purity of that energy that's coming into you. So what I would say is what you said, 100%, set that intention, try to set yourself up with why you're doing it, how it's going to enrich your life. More importantly, how is it going to enrich other people's lives, or equally important, let's say.
Yes.
And go with your heart and follow it and revel in it. Don't, take comfort in it, because that's the true reality. And I kind of went off on a tangent there, but anyway, it's good. I've struggled. I'm saying this because I've struggled a lot, even though I've been totally down with all this ever since Tyson passed, and I've been on this search, and it's been very difficult for me to break that conditioning and open myself up. When I was young, I was a very open-hearted person, very sensitive, all that, and I had to harden myself up to survive and be successful. And I'm, it made me a stronger person ultimately. But now I'm going back and I have more of a balance, and you have to succumb to that if you're going to really lead a spiritual life. I think
True.
Not a dogmatic one, not where you're following certain rules and doing what society says you're supposed to do, but one where you're truly connecting with the light and with oneness and with other people. And it's an amazing thing. It makes you a better person, makes you a happier person, and it makes you a better influence on other people too. So good shit, Ericka. Good shit.
Yeah, I want to throw this in too, because as we evolve in our psychic journey, our spiritual journey, that saying that empathy without boundaries is self-sabotage. Psychic intuition, also spiritual connection, our development without boundaries. Ego, I'm gonna throw that in there too, but boundaries are very important, because boundaries are self-care for you, and is empowerment, my favorite word, for the people that you're trying to help. Because if you don't have good boundaries, then you're going to enable and not empower. So meditate, empower, don't enable, and learn and find new teachers. That's been my thing. And stay humble, because they'll knock you down. I tell you, they will.
Yeah. Well, that's my new mantra. Whenever I do anything to do with healing, I make a point to ask for it with humility
Yes.
and really feel that humility. Don't just use the words, but actually say it and feel it. And what does that mean? And also with gratitude.
Yes.
Because it is all, but yeah. Here on all that stuff. But yeah, boundaries definitely, so yeah, when I say open your heart, that exactly. I'm not saying to just lay yourself out there and make yourself a victim, because the world still is a rough place.
Yes.
But you can open your heart to and take care of yourself you have to take care of yourself in order to take care of others, but do it with, go out into it with the intention of helping others, and so. Okay, go on to the next question, which is kind of a follow up to what I already asked you. But so you have all these clairs. How do you go about it? Because I think a lot of times people, myself included, and you get all this information and you hear all these stories about mediumship that are so remarkable, it's like, well, how the hell did they do that? What did they see? How did the hell did they get that information? Can you give just like a basic reading, like an example of how information might come in, how you might interpret it and communicate it to the person?
So, different readings require different things, but most of the time when I'm reading a client, when I did in-person readings, my clients love them because the way that I connect is through paper and pen. I'll take what is usually, hold on, I've got to make sure I'm not showing anything, a white sheet of paper like this. And I'll take a pen and I'll do this it's almost like I'm channeling, I guess is the way you can look at it. But I'll start hearing words come into my ear. And so what my process would be is I'm focusing on Brandon, and I always say this, an information in their highest good. So that kind of is focused on, hey, keep the bad spirits out. Let's just focus on what is in the highest good of both parties, right? And then my people and your people start telling me an outline. And so I might hear career, family, new direction, and all these words. And I just write kind of like the kind of tag word of what I'm hearing. And then that list could be 2 pages long of just general words or phrases. And then when I go over that list, I'll say, hey, is there anything else you want to add? And most people say, no, gosh, you covered everything. And I said, okay. And then I'll go to number 1 and I'll say, okay, tell me what change of career means for Brandon. And then they'll start telling me, well, Brandon is doing this and he's doing that and he's about to change and to do that. And so it's almost like they just go. And then I go to number 2.
Now when you say number 1, are you talking about the person, the client is saying these things, or the
my people. Yeah.
Okay, your guides.
It's like a guide, their guides, my guides. And then it's so crazy because when I do radio, I was on Lex and Terry, and because I'm so trained to do this, a caller called and she's talking, saying her name, and I'm used to doing my list on paper, and I'm saying deceased male, and I'm not realizing I'm saying it out loud. And she said the next thing she said was, I want to talk to my dad who's just passed. And I said, oh, I just said deceased male, because I was already hearing it, because that's how I'm trained to do it. I write a list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, second page, 1, 2, 3, and they just outline it for me. They give my brain an outline. And then, if I would have wrote deceased male on her number 1, that usually is the most important thing that they need to talk about in their reading. It's the first thing I would hear, and making this up right now because I'm not talking about this particular individual, but it would have went something probably like it did on radio. I have your dad here to tell you this. And then I would go to number 2 and I have this message. So it's almost the way they do it for me. I've seen people that, automatic write and, crystal ball, different divinations. I don't really use a divination, but they give me a list. And I have clients that have their sheets, and they'll say, because they'll want them scanned or something, and they'll say, when they were in person, they'll say, you told me this 5 years ago, it's here. One was breast cancer, And she, I drew her breast, the left breast or whatever, and, and needed to go get it checked. And she went and got it checked. And, it was like, I've had therapists and doctors and lawyers, I mean, just all kind of crazy people that have been sent to me. And the list tells a story. The paper tells a story. And that's how I do my readings. And usually
it's primarily clairaudience then that you
yes,
that you get your information from. But you occasionally though, do they ever come in where there's actually a person sitting there that's like
no. Well, honestly, the clairaudience is how the reading begins. It's like the outline is recited to me like a outline. And then when I focus on the actual list, like focusing number 1, deceased dad, I'm going to see her dad. I'm going to see and hear what he says to me. I'm going to remote view. A lot of times I'll just go into the house. It's crazy. Like I'll, start doing her deceased dad. And then next thing I'll say, okay, I'm in a screen patio. I'm seeing this on the shelf. He's cremated. I'm seeing ashes being thrown to me. So it goes from the auditory to jumping into me being like the remote viewer in the house, looking at the stuff. And sometimes I'll be right behind them, literally, and I'll say, hey, do you have wavy curly hair that's black? I said, okay, are you in the office with, and I can literally see it from the ceiling. And I'll say, like, do you have a desk right there and a window right there? And they'll say, yeah. And I said, are you on a striped shirt? Yeah. I said, I'm standing right behind you, but I'm not me. I'm your relative or whoever it is. So, yeah, it's a weird thing. It's scary at times because you almost feel like you're making it up because it's crazy.
Yeah, it is. But it's what you're saying illustrates, the idea that we're all connected. I know a lot of the audience probably this is all old hat to them, but for some folks this is new concepts. And you couldn't do these things if we weren't connected. If time and space was there for other than the convenience of us being able to make sense of our reality, you wouldn't be able to travel like that with your consciousness. Yeah. And so it's just an illustration. Incredible stuff. I mean, I've had flashes of that myself. I've experienced it myself, so I know it to be true. But this is something that happens with you constantly. And what I will challenge people to do is try to tap in yourself. You'll find if you do it with an open mind and an open heart that it actually is possible. Real quick, I want to do a shout out to Diet. She's one of the other hosts. I don't know if I pronounced her name right. I haven't met her formally yet, but she says, love Ericka. Linda True Love says hello and wanted to do a shout out, and she's commenting on the subject matter. It's amazing. And Sherry Bowman says good evening. So I just wanted to acknowledge y'all. Thanks for tuning in.
Yes, let me Diet Renee, and I'm totally sorry if I'm butchering your name. I just know that your energy is amazing. I love when I meet mediums, that do it for the right reason and that help other people tap into their mediumship. Phenomenal lady, does psychic fairs also. Can't wait to meet her in the future. And she also does a lot of instruction and teaching to help people tap in to their own mediumship. Like myself, she is one of those people. It's almost like we see each other when we're around each other energetically, we get it. And I'm going to just share this because I was talking to a friend today about a puzzle. If you can imagine a big puzzle on the floor, a lot of puzzle pieces, right? And you're a piece of my puzzle, okay? She's a piece of my puzzle. Everybody that I interact with is a piece of my puzzle. We've got all these puzzle pals all over the place. And as I'm trying to put the pieces together, here you come and give me a piece, and I've got this section done. Then someone else comes and I've got this section done. And all of a sudden I can see this beautiful scene, but I am still working. I still have other pieces to put together. And I'm not going to say I'm ever going to be finished because I'm a vampire and I live forever. But that's kind of a great analogy to understand the connectivity of all people. We're a part of that path, that puzzle. And everyone that you meet will put a little piece to your puzzle. And you will find that you will get clarity and the images will start coming together as long as you start and continue the work on yourself and, getting helpers to help, because we need helpers sometimes.
Absolutely. We're all here to support each other.
Yes.
We're all here to learn and
Yes.
find our path. Yeah. So, but you see what I mean? See how she does a shout out and pumps Renee up? You see, that's her nature. She wants to lift people up. I actually watched an interview you did, not the whole thing, but I did watch the interview you did with Diet earlier today. I was just curious to see kind of how things went. So, and I really enjoyed it, Diet. So, there's a shout out to you too. And also Teresa Adams says hello from Kansas. And so thank you. Thanks for reaching out. Okay. So I think that's, thank you for clarifying that though, because I think it's funny. I got to tell you, this is on another note for me, for folks that might be considering the idea, not necessarily of it's kind of overwhelming to people that are new to this. And if there are people that are tuning in from my network, from the people that I've been connected to for a long time, they're probably not real well read with this stuff. So tapping in probably isn't even in their wheelhouse yet, but they might be considering the idea of doing a session or something like that. And I will say that if you're even considering it because you want to make peace with someone you lost that's passed on, or if you're just curious and you want to explore and see if this shit actually is real, I highly recommend doing a mediumship reading, definitely with Ericka. There's people in my book that are really credible. Obviously, Diet Renee also is too. But the thing I'm saying this because for me, I had different experiences throughout my life that I look back on it now. It's like obvious what they were, but just disregarded them. But when Tyson passed away, and I really became open to the concept of life after death and being able to connect with that, Lisa Silverman, who was the medium that I went to, that is really good. It changed my life. Yes. I mean, it really did. It was like in the book, I describe it as coffee with loved ones because it was literally, I connected with my aunt, my uncle, my grandma, and my dog. Okay. All in one session. And there was no question of who I was talking to. And it was literally like sitting around a round table and talking to people that I hadn't seen. And I was 45 at the time. I hadn't seen my grandma and my uncle since I was 16. And it was, not only was it a very healing, uplifting experience, but it was also, it shifted my whole perspective on what reality was. It took these concepts that were kind of, abstract, the idea of life after death, what happens to us after we die. For a lot of people, that's kind of connected to what we were taught through, dogma, religion, that sort of thing. And at least for me, it was always abstract. So now all of a sudden it was tangible and I had direct experience with this. And it was just such an uplifting, healing, life altering experience. And so if you're considering it, do it, because and by all means call Ericka, make her the time she wasted on my show worthwhile. No.
Let me say this. Don't call Ericka, because again, empowerment. I always tell people I don't do repetitive readings because I don't want to be your therapist / psychic. Every time you need to talk to your dead person, you come to me. What I want you to do is to see what I do, understand that if I can do it, so can you. And that your loved ones will show you signs. They'll show you the butterflies. They'll wake you up in the middle of the night. They'll put songs in your head. They will put visions in your head. They will do everything that they can, go in and beyond time to show you that they love you. And all you have to do is ask to dream about them, ask to see them in meditation, And what I think stops most people is, I read a lot of people and they're crying and they're like, oh my God, when, my dad died, I Okay, dad's not coming around that. Dad's up there partying in heaven, having fun. You know, he ain't trying to come sit with you in your pity party. You're not going to lower his vibration. So what you do is you think about, my dad, the first time me and him had a beer and we were talking shit and, you know, having fun, and he used to fart around me and act silly and do all these things. And then dad's like, yeah, she's high vibe. And now I'm going to come down and give her a little pat. She's going to get goosebumps. She's going to start feeling her dad. She's not crying. She's happy. She's having a memory, a telepathic communication with dad. This memory pops up in her head. She doesn't realize that it's a telepathic communication. She just thinks she's thinking about her dad. And these are the things that people like myself and other mediums teach, is that telepathy is that mind-to-mind communication that we get from our loved ones that we think is from us, what is actually to us. And the more that we ask and acknowledge and raise vibration and think of them in love, not in sorrow, not deathbed confession, not tragic suicide, not car accident, not, murder victim. We think of them as not the 5 seconds that they died, but the lifetime that they lived. That is what brings our loved ones to us to communicate. And a lot of times they communicate with us in sleep. So have that pen and that pad ready to jot down whatever you felt, hear, smelt, saw in your sleep. Because you go to bed with hey, let me get a message, and you wake up with a message, but a lot of times you won't remember it if you don't have that pen and pad. Or voice recorder on your cell phone. It's easier. Do that.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree with you 100%. But for somebody that's still in that zone where they're completely skeptical of all this, it's all hocus pocus and you're full of baloney and you're whatever. God knows why you would be doing that, but the mind is a funny thing. I just encourage people to experience it, because the thing is, you experience it, you see it's possible, and then it makes you want to tap into your own abilities. That's what happened with me. The thought never even crossed my mind that I could actually tap into these things. And Lisa, the medium I went to, she that was the beautiful gift that she gave me. And I'm sure you've given that to many, many people. Got a couple other shout outs. DP, I don't know if you know who DP is, but the quote is, Ericka is awesome and helped me so much. And Linda True Love is back, and she says, I will be like, give me a sign. Then I get scared and say, no. Okay. Yeah. Don't get scared. Oh, you know what? That's a good point. I have so many questions that I wrote down that I just, because I wanted to be prepared, but that's good. We've had a great organic conversation, but for folks that are, and I know some that are very close to me actually, that are scared. They're afraid of who, for example, people from their past that maybe they have trauma associated with, people that they don't want to have anything to do with. Not even ghosts or anything, just people that they don't want to have any communication with, or something. Let's say there is something negative like that that's out there. What would you say to people that are afraid?
I'm going to give you 2 examples. Okay. One is going to be, reading a person, and all of a sudden the grandfather that might have molested them their whole life that they never told the mom about, here's the grandfather here wanting to tell me he's sorry, and I'm like, I don't even want to talk to you, go away. Still having to deliver the message. Girl doesn't want to talk to him. Then she says, okay, what does he have to say? Healing happened that day. Okay. Paranoia, all these paranormal is what I'm trying to say. I see a scary shadow in the house. I'm afraid. It appears. I don't know what it is. I go look because I'm remote viewing. I say, oh, that's just your grandma. I'm making this up, guys. That's just your grandma trying to say hello to you because you didn't see her before she died when you unplugged her. And she wanted to let you know, I'm making this up, guys, that it was okay to unplug her. Okay, I didn't know that was my grandmother. I thought it was a scary shadow figure that was evil because I've been watching television that tells me shadow figures are the devil and demons. Shadow figures appear to us that way because we don't understand that sometimes those are just spirits, our dead people. So every paranormal situation that's a shadow figure is not an evil spirit, demonic, take over your body person. Sometimes it's just how we see them in the human eye. And so we're scared because we don't understand, as Linda says, she wants a sign, but she won't see nobody because she's scared. So then that fear makes it evil and bad. So I always tell people, your loved ones will show up if you ask, and every shadow person that you see, or all the energy that we see, or the feelings, aren't always bad. You will know that they're for you when you ask them and pray and say, what is your message to me? Sit a little bit, see what pops into your head first, or how you feel, and then you'll know. But take the fear out of it. Okay.
So just to be clear, you say, you can, and I've found this to be true when I've had sessions where I really would like to speak with somebody. They're not always wanting to talk, but they'll usually show up at least briefly. What if you absolutely do not want to talk to them? You're just not ready. Even though healing could happen, you just don't want any part of it.
Then because we have free will, we just tell them to go away. That guy, I could have said, okay, she don't want to talk to you. And I did. And then I said, okay, well, he's still standing over there. I see him, She's like, well, what does he have to say? But if she didn't want to talk to him, I'd be like, dude, bounce.
So what you're saying ultimately is that we in the physical realm have control.
We have free will. Spirits have free will. We have free will. And that's why I always say, when your free will in the spiritual world is being not listened to, more than likely, that's not a positive energy. And that's how you know the difference. When you ask a question, you get a response. Someone shows up and say, somebody's scared, go away. I don't want to see you. I don't want to hear. I'm a kid. I don't want to see you. I don't want to see you. You should respect my spiritual, physical, and etheric boundaries and bounce. If you don't, that's when we need to go in. This is your next thing, with some holy water, some frankincense, some myrrh. We need to cleanse the space. We need to command our spiritual and psychic boundaries, those type of things. But yes, you can cleanse your house, and you do have free will to tell people to bounce if you don't want them around.
In your experience, do most people respect that? Most spirits respect it?
Most spirits do. And if they don't, it's usually a paranormal experience. And that's when secondsightparanormal.com comes out. And I won't say we're Ghostbusters, but we go in as a paranormal team, and we try to find out what is haunting your location. And most of the team are psychic anyway. They don't even need me, but I'm part of the team. But they always feel things, and they are able to usually decipher things as well. So call a paranormal team if it's beyond that.
So second sight. Go ahead. Give a whole spiel on it. I had a plan to get into this earlier, but we ended up going off on tangents. So second sight. Go ahead and tell all about that.
Sight Paranormal is my Second Sight Paranormal team. We shoot Second Sight Paranormal TV. We stream on some networks, but it's really like law enforcement. Like, I would have had you on the team if you lived closer. We just are a whole hodgepodge of different people: lawyers, law enforcement, pilots, real estate agents, psychic. And we go out and we try to help the community. What we love to do mostly is shoot bootleg movies at historical locations. And the dream is to get a TV show. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know why you won't. I think you will.
Well, there ain't a lot of me on television, so we're going to work on that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what you're doing there is an extension of what you do with your mediumship. You're trying to help people.
Yes.
And I imagine you're trying to help spirits too, right?
I'm going to say we don't try, we do, because there ain't no trying, there's only doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, we go out there and we assist people and we empower people. But the main thing is, I try to empower people to understand that, like you said, they do have that control over their homes, their connection to spirit, and things can be taught to empower them and to help them and understand what's haunting them.
That's awesome. So we're kind of getting down to the wire here. Unfortunately, an hour goes by really fast when you're having a conversation. I could go. Sorry, I got these dogs in here. I guess we all love our animals, right?
Yeah.
So I could go on and on and on. There's I've got many more questions, but you've been fantastic. Maybe come on again sometime.
We'll do it, definitely.
Yes. All right. And I want to thank you again, not just for coming on, but being such a good friend to me. And just a quick shout out for myself, TysonsGiftHealing.com. If you want to go on there and check out what my offerings are as far as my energy healing, I offer a number of modalities, distance and in person. TysonsGiftHealing.com. And if you're curious about our story, the story that I have with my awakening, how I got into this in the first place was through my dog. When he passed away, I had a whole awakening, and that's how I became an energy healer. And that's TysonsGift.com. So do you have any websites you want people to just write down real quick before?
Second Sight Paranormal. And, I just have to say that I don't promote people that I don't believe in. It's just my thing. I was tired one day and I did ask Brandon to send me some energy and he rocked. So book an appointment. Thank you so much, Brandon.
Oh, thank you. Well, I think I've gotten the good end of the stick. But I very much appreciate you saying that. And I never did find out. That's the first I've heard too. She never really told me how I did that day. So I appreciate it. Or an organic telling. Okay, well, I will see you soon. I'll be at the Pensacola Psych monthly fair here before probably. I think it'll probably be in January or February. I'll be out there, so I'll see you soon.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, well, thanks everybody for tuning in, and thanks to our producer Todd Bates for keeping control of all this. And I can't wait to have you back. So I'm going to. So just expect my email or phone call or whatever.
Will do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.